Hello and welcome back to The Real Deal with Empire. Again, I'm your host, Ali Fawaz, and this is still the podcast where we don't talk about transactions. We are still talking about transformation. And today's topic, I know we've been gone for a little while, but this is an interesting topic. It's good to be back. We were on a little bit of a hiatus, but now that we're back, the topic that we're going to get into in this industry, we know that the average brokerage sees about a 15% of its agents fall off or leave every single year. Some leave because maybe they're chasing a higher split. Perhaps some of them are leaving because they're burned out, or others are leaving because they're not getting the kind of support that they were hoping to get from their brokerage. Others maybe just wasn't a good fit. Maybe it was a cultural fit that wasn't there for them. Nonetheless, now when we think about what that really actually means and how does that actually impact not only the agent, but the brokerage and the clients, there's a heavy toll that places on each of these different components. And it means that a lot of brokerages every single year, one out of every 6 or 7 agents, they're gone. And that means there's a new face, there's a new system to learn, there's new personalities, there's a new learning curve for all of these different components. And on the surface, that might not sound like a very big deal because everybody deals with turnover. But when you look closer into it, it actually affects everything. It affects how a deal is being handled. It affects how the problems are being solved. It affects how the clients are being treated. It impacts and affects whether knowledge is getting passed on or that knowledge is being lost. High turnover usually means they're constantly starting over from scratch, essentially what that means. And they're always going through the brokerage is always going through a new onboarding. There's always new training that's happening, always reacting instead of building on what you've already created, right? So it's the kind of that revolving door. And some models, that's their intention. That's how they actually, they modeled their brokerage into hey, we're constantly recruiting, constantly hiring because we know we have a revolving door. And maybe that's the model that they want to go with. But what we're going to analyze today is how does that actually impact everybody that's involved in this process? It really does affect how a deal is being handled, how the problems are being solved, and so on. And when that happens, clients, they feel it, right? They feel the impact of that. Even if they don't know exactly why, there's some kind of an impact that's being placed on them. They feel it when their agent doesn't have the backup support. They feel it when the transaction hits a snag somewhere along the line and nobody is there to kind of jump in or help them or have the history to kind of help them navigate through those uncharted territories for that particular deal or that particular agent. They feel it when a relationship feels like it's shallow instead of a deep relationship. Now, here's the other side of it. At Empire, our turnover is at 3%, right? When you compare that with an industry average of 15%, that's a big difference there. And that doesn't happen by accident, right? There's an intention there around that. That happens when people feel like they're getting the support that they want. That happens when people feel respected. That happens when they feel like they're really growing within their space, and when they feel like they're a part of something that's bigger than them, not just renting desk space someplace, right? It's about culture that you're building, and it's about sustainability. Now, today's episode is really about that stability. It's about what it takes to last in this business and longevity. It's about culture over chaos. It's the long-term thinking versus that short-term thinking. And there's no better person to talk about that than someone that's actually been here since the start, since day one. 19 years, I think, or almost 19 years within the industry. The first agent at Empire, one who's seen every phase of the company's growth and development. So today I'm excited really to sit down with Ahmad Hojeij and talk about what it really means to build a career and a brokerage that really lasts. So thank you for taking time out of your day. Thank you for taking a moment to sit down with us and to share and give us your insights. I mean, you have a lot of experience, not only just in the industry, but also with the organization as it's flourished and grown and come to itself. So we'd love to be able to pick your brain, and we're glad that we can do that today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So Ahmed, when you've been here since day one, as I said, I think is about 19 years. Is that right?
19 years, almost 28 years in the business in total, and 19 of those years here with Empire.
That's amazing. Now, what's the first thing you think, or what pops in your head when you think 3% turnover?
So 3%, a little shocking. It's very uncommon in this business. Sometimes it's like a revolving door. Agents come and go, but the numbers speak for themselves. We're doing something right here, and agents are finding success with Empire Realty. They're valued. People typically don't stay where they don't feel valued.
Right. And
the bottom line is they're making money here, and that's what agents get into the business for, and they're finding success with that. So, I'm happy that I've been here for the 19 years, and I want to say look forward to another 19 years, but that's a heck of a long time.
Did you ever imagine that you'd be here for almost 2 decades when you first started?
So, yes and no. So, right off from the beginning, I found success here. I found comfort. I seen the value in Empire. I believed in the vision, and things went well. So, I'm a strong believer in if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. And I knew that if I wanted to have success in this business, Empire supplies you with all the tools. So if I was going to succeed, it was going to be here. And so I never truly thought about leaving. No.
Yeah.
I found success here, and I'm happy here.
So take us back to the very beginning. What was Empire like when you first joined?
So if I think back to the very beginning, it's actually, if I could pick one word, I would truly, I would say humble. So we started off small building on Tireman, just east of Greenfield, I believe. Mm-hmm. Probably 2,000 square feet, maybe under that. And I could even go a step back a little further to why we ended up at that property on Tireman. So prior to that, I worked with Coldwell Banker, Prestige in West Dearborn, and Ahmad Hojeij was working for Coldwell Banker, I believe, out in Oakland County somewhere, either Troy, I believe, or Sterling Heights, and he kind of wanted to break into the Dearborn market. So we both ended up at another company on Greenfield that I'm not going to mention, and we were there for a little while, and that's when he started thinking about branching off and opening his own place. And so I say that because what I'm going to say next is pretty important. So he takes me over there to this building he finds, and he goes, "Hey, what do you think of this place?" And I walk in there, and it looked really humble, to say the least. It was a small building. I said, well, but I seen his passion, and I seen his drive and his determination to succeed. So I said, "Hey, if you do it, I'll jump on board with you," and I did. And walking in there, I recall one story where he took us to the back room. There was a little, I want to say, eating area that he set up. And he said, "Hey, look, when the agents are tired, they could sit there, they could have their lunch, they could meet with their clients." And that's what drew me to his vision. He was always looking out for the comfort of the agents, how I could make the agents happy here. And functionality, everything was there, everything we needed to succeed was there. It was a small little, maybe fax machine in the corner and a little printer in the corner. We kind of shared desk space, but that did not affect our ability to provide a strong service for our clients. And those were some of the good days looking back. I would say humble. It was a very humble beginning.
Yeah, I remember he gave me a tour of that location long ago when he first got in there. And I had nothing to do with the industry at the time. Yeah. But I remember when he first picked it up. So humble is a great way to describe it. 100%. What were some of the biggest struggles back then?
I would say early on, some of the biggest struggles, at least for me, brand recognition. So everybody wants that strong name. You know, they want to. I'm not going to mention other company names, but it wasn't there. So one of the biggest struggles I had, I recall going to a listing. I was going to list a property, and I mentioned the company name to the client, and they said, "Well, what's that? What's Empire Realty?" And I said, "Well, it's a real estate company." So one of her biggest concerns was, "Are you going to put a yard sign up? Do you guys have signs?" And I'm like, "Yes, of course we have signs." What do? I pick up the phone. I call Ahmad right away. I say, "We got signs, right?" He says, "Of course we got signs." So that brand recognition. So and I was up for the challenge, and I know Ahmad Fawaz was. We knew that we had to create a brand for ourselves, and we had to create a name for ourselves, and that's what we did.
What made you decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to stick this out instead of jumping ship like many agents might when they see like, hey, it's an up and coming. There's people questioning the brand maybe. Was there anything that made you say, I'm going to stick this out?
Well, I would say my personality in general, I'm always rooting for the underdog. That's one. And two is I seen his passion.
Yeah.
Ahmad Fawaz's passion. And a lot of great ideas. And he wouldn't just talk about them. He would execute on them.
Yeah.
And for me, that's big. And not only that, the comfort level, it started off as a family and it continued to grow as a family. And those things are really important to me. In this business, without getting too, slinging mud, it could be slit throat. And so the comfort level and the sincerity in the people that are here at Empire, I think is something that's worth more than money. And that's part of success, is finding that comfort level and knowing people have your back and working honestly and with integrity. Yeah. Those are very important.
Yeah, all that stuff leads to the culture, right? It's culture of where you're at and how people treat one another and how there's respect given and taken and that is really about the environment that you're in. We've seen agents come and go in the industry. Why do you think most people leave brokerages?
So it could be for a lot of reasons. People get into the business, I think, with very high expectations. Maybe that's one. I think another one is if they're over promised. There's constantly brokerages out there that are recruiting, promising better splits, yep. Promising them the world. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. So there's a ton of reasons, but what's important is why do they stay? More important to why they leave. And the reasons why they stay is because they're finding success here with Empire Realty and the support system is there. And like I said, if you're going to succeed in this business, this is the perfect place because you can't blame anyone if you don't succeed because you have everything you need here to succeed.
Yeah. You mentioned, I think people get into the industry or into the space because they think it's all glitz and glamour of what they see on television, maybe, right? Maybe they're watching those shows on HGTV and other shows. Correct, yeah. And thinking, oh, wow, this is so fun to watch. I'd love to do it. And then perhaps the reality bursts their bubble.
Then the reality strikes. There's a lot of hard work involved. There's a lot of things behind the scenes. And it is a fun job. So if people get into it, I guess, because they're attracted to that type of glamour or whatever feeling they're going for. And then when they actually have to work for it, maybe that's where they slow down and say, hold on, this is stressful. I'm calling, my clients call me at 10 o'clock at night. I got a meeting at, 10 a.m. and then I got another showing at 10:30. And when the work catches up with it, I think people take a step back and say, how much am I willing to invest into this in order to become successful? But that's where the line is drawn between the agents who find success and the agents who just do it part-time. Yeah. They're not willing to put the work in.
Yeah. I think I see that a lot. What does Empire do differently that you think keeps people here?
I would say the culture. It would have to be the culture and the sincerity that's there within the company. Having the ability to call up the broker anytime, say, hey, look, I got this situation, 1, 2, 3. What do you think I should do? And he's not given a half answer. I mean, he's actually doing the research and guiding you in the right direction. In addition to all that, with a lot of the other resources we have. So it's the culture of knowing that people have your back. It's the feeling that you get that you're not in competition with the other agents in your office. They're there to work with you and to help one another out. So that type of an atmosphere in this work environment is really important. It's almost like a safe space, because once you're out there dealing with other companies, other agents, they're your competition, and sometimes it could get pretty brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely can say that, those sentiments, I see that. And in fact, as we've been growing and expanding, we've been doing a lot of recruiting, and whether it's for Farmington Hills, Garden City, Taylor. And the folks that we talk to when they come in for their interview, there seems to be a theme, and it usually revolves around, culture, support. In fact, one gentleman who he did end up actually joining us came from one of the larger franchise brokerages, but he, in 2 years, I think he said he only did one deal, maybe. And when I asked him why, why wasn't it working for you there? And he couldn't put his finger on it. He couldn't explain what. Ultimately, the things he was describing, he just felt like he wasn't comfortable. I'm like, that tells me that it wasn't a fit. It wasn't a cultural fit. If you're not comfortable, you're not being yourself. You're not able. And that's kind of how he described it. He said, I just couldn't feel comfortable. I couldn't feel like myself. I felt like I was a fish out of water. And when he came on board here, suddenly he felt like he wasn't guarded.
Yeah, and that's probably what's really, I think, important here, is that we're not so focused. Empire's not so focused on recruiting new agents all the time. We're more interested in keeping the agents we have and how do we improve their business. Yeah. And I think that's a big difference between a lot of the other companies, where they're constantly out there recruiting, and that goes back to the 3% versus the 15%. Is we don't need to spend all that energy trying to recruit people. We're just going to work on the guys we have and make them the best that they could be. And at the end, we all win. The company wins and the agents. Yeah, so it's success for everyone.
I would totally agree. I think a big focus is on the strategy of, well, how do we continue developing our people? Whether that's through ongoing training, it's through just making everybody readily available and accessible, having an open door policy where you have access to your broker at any time to ask any questions. Just in some of the conversations I've had with other agents, outside agents, where they tell me they never spoke to their broker. He was just never available. And the way they describe it, they're just put up on a pedestal. Yeah. And the only time they come off of that pedestal is when they find out you're about to leave the brokerage. Suddenly, they are going to make time with you to meet with you, right, and say, "Oh, now you have time for me." And that's part of the culture, right? And so those are things. Have you? No, this is just between you and I and the listeners
and the camera, right?
And the camera. Have you ever seriously been tempted to leave?
So. There was probably times where it crossed my mind, but it's probably not what you're thinking. I would say there was dips in the market. There was dips in the market. Total of almost 30 years in the business. There were times where I said to myself, wow, real estate has gotten really bad. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of agents out there. It's very competitive. And so at times I did think about just leaving the business altogether. And I'm really happy that I did not. And it's over the years, the experience you gain, and it would have been a shame that I walked away at that time. But again, I'm really happy that I stayed. It's really worked out for me, and I found a lot of success here, and I'm happy, and I feel like I'm at home.
Yeah.
There's no reason to leave your home, So
Yeah, I mean, almost 30 years in the industry, you've seen all the ups and downs, and I think a lot of the newer folks who get into this industry and get into the space, I think they get shaken when the market takes a downturn, right? And they just haven't seen it before. But when I speak to somebody like yourself, who's seen all of this, just cool as a cucumber.
For the most part, So the idea is, I tell a lot of my clients, just position yourself. Everyone's thinking the market's going to dump, it's going to crash, and there's others that say no, it's not. I say either way, position yourself either way. So, over the years, I have seen it dip where it shocked me, and I said it can't get any worse, and it actually did. But a lot of people found a lot of success with that. The people who positioned themselves. And a lot of clients did very well. They did very well by purchasing the properties that they did, the investments they made. They are still reaping the benefits of those decisions.
Yeah, I believe it. So I'm going to go into our next segment. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. We're going to talk about how culture isn't a slogan. Right. I think everyone says that they have a great culture. But what does that actually mean at Empire? And maybe we touched on this a little bit earlier.
So I would say one is the numbers speak for themselves. When we say culture, what does that mean exactly? Well, it can mean something different to every person.
True.
And it's that person finds a level of comfort with what they're doing paired with success. They have to be successful here, meaning they have to make money. If they're not closing deals, we're going to find out why. We're going to ask them why. What are your struggles? What could we work on? How can we help you improve your business? So that type of a culture in itself, with a sincerity for the agents to succeed. They're not just a number. We want to hold on to you. We want you to stay here. We have more of a long-term vision. And so the idea, so when you say the word culture, it's not necessarily that, you come in here and we're having pizza parties every day and we're just having a ball. It's a place where you're going to have success. And if you're having any type of trouble in attaining that success, we're going to do what we can to help you, to assist you.
How, I guess on that point, how have you seen leadership show up when an agent is struggling?
In multiple ways. I mean, so the idea that an agent could just make a phone call, not just to the broker, to any agent within the office, say, hey, look, I'm having a hard time convincing this client 1, 2, 3. What's a good way to approach? Or I'm having a hard time with the city inspection. Whatever the issue is, it's having that ability to reach out to other agents within the office and to help you along the way. So,
yeah, I think that's something that's key there. It's not just about what's the brokerage doing for you, but also when you have an atmosphere that you feel like if you're just sitting there with a baffled look on your face, somebody sees that, they will come up to you and ask you, what's going on?
Yep, they're going to step in and they're going to help. And that in itself is extremely valuable. You're not on your own. You're not on an island. We're here to actually help.
Nice. What's something that Empire does behind the scenes that maybe most people never see?
So there's a lot of meetings. There's a lot of ongoing education. There's a lot of investment, big investments that are being made into the agents for them to succeed, and to identify any concerns or problems that a lot of the agents are facing. There's a lot of meetings and a lot of ideas. We're open to, hey, you have any ideas? Give us some ideas how we could move forward, how we could grow. And so that idea of just having the ability to have an open conversation with people is also very important.
Nice. Yeah. Now, on a personal note, how has working here impacted your life outside of real estate?
So, in a lot of different ways, I guess, teaches you patience. You got to have patience, right? So, if you don't have patience, don't get into real estate. And if you know, I guess over time you learn to be more patient in life, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And as well as, it improves your communication skills, your negotiating skills. You're not just going to negotiate a house or a business. You're also going to negotiate other things in life. And the skills that you learn here as a real estate agent, you will definitely use in your everyday life. So it's helped me grow as a person altogether. So.
What about from the client's perspective, right? We've been talking a lot about the brokerage, the agents, so the internal components of all of this. But what about when we go on the outside and we look at, well, from the client's perspective, why should they care if their agent's brokerage has a lower turnover or high turnover?
Absolutely. So there's a level of comfort I think that the clients find with us. And it's not unusual to have those same clients referring family members, even their own kids, will come back and will help them locate a property that fits their needs.
Nice. What do clients get from Empire Realty Group that they wouldn't get from a revolving door?
Again, the idea of the stability, I believe, is extremely valuable. Having, consistency. And when you could walk into Empire Realty and see the same agent, there 15 years later, that says something. Yeah. And clients understand that. So it's having familiar faces, people who definitely understand the market. It's extremely valuable. So I would say that stability in that.
Yeah, I think understanding the market, I think that all that stuff is, you get that with longevity. You get that through consistency. You get that where you build your own confidence even just over time. And I tell everybody this, like, we are subject matter experts. You have to be a subject matter expert because they need somebody who can hold their hand and guide them through the process. Because how many times in your lifetime are you buying a house? Maybe 2, maybe 3, who knows? Maybe 1 all your life. And so
a lot of questions.
It's not an experience you go through very often. So you need somebody who has that experience. Absolutely. And has the confidence that, hey, yeah, I've been here, done this. Let me show you the ropes. I'll guide you through this.
Yeah, and that's extremely important because, it could be intimidating. People are making a huge investment. It may be one of the biggest investments of their lifetime. And there's no stupid question. There's no dumb question. And, finding that comfort within your agent that there's no pressure. We're going to find you what makes you happy. Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. That's very important is giving them that level of comfort and understanding of the market without the pressure.
Nice. All right. So we're going to jump into our fun segment.
All right.
It might date us a little bit, based on the questions.
Well, either that or the gray hairs did, but
nah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 options, and you're going to pick one and then explain why.
All right.
Ready? Paper files versus cloud system.
Oh boy. Paper files.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not expect that.
When I began, when I started real estate, this was all farmland around here. And there was dinosaurs roaming. No, I'm just, so I would, so I big believer, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it, I guess. And I like the old school.
Wow, paper. Okay.
You know, I could even add a little bit more. When we first started off in real estate, we had catalogs in the office.
Okay.
And in the catalog would be the picture of the house, the property's owner's information, and all the details of the house. We would bring clients in and flip through the catalog. Wow. And then we would go out and show the property that way. So there was log into the MLS,
pull up the MLS.
Pull it up, and you had all the information there. We had to work for the information. And not only that, I mean, Another idea that a lot of agents would probably be surprised or they would laugh at is if we wanted to write up an offer,
Yeah.
we would pull out the old typewriter.
Oh,
And then
it was typewriter.
It was a carbon copies behind it.
Yeah.
And we would type right through it, and that's the way we submitted our offers.
How long would a transaction take to?
If you got really good at it, about an hour. I mean, just to do the
Just to do the paperwork.
Just do the
Yeah.
Well,
create the purchase agreement.
hold on. Maybe my memory's not. I think it took longer than that. Because I recall one specific time I was in that office till I went in there with daylight, and by the time I left, it was dark out. So I might have been in there for a couple of hours.
I can only imagine how you mess up.
Oh yeah.
Is it whiteout or how do you?
Well, since it was carbon copy, no whiteout would work.
You'd have to start from
all
over again.
Yeah, you start all over. So don't make any mistakes.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Okay. All right, next one. Newspaper ads versus social media.
Believe it or not, I'm not into social media. I think within the last 3 or 4 years, I finally got like a Facebook page, and that's as far as I go.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm definitely old school.
Okay.
Definitely, I'm catching on. I mean, my kids are kind of, they kind of make fun of me. I'm catching on, but.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that one is maybe right down the middle. I don't know. I'm assuming you're not using newspaper now.
You can't find them anymore. Trust me, I tried to buy. Back in the day, the Sunday newspaper was probably about 40.
I remember when it was so thick.
It's really thin. There's nothing in there.
That's true.
But so no, I get the importance of social media and the technology, and I'm definitely shifting that way. It's just a little bit slower than the average guy.
Yeah. In-person closings versus digital closings.
In-person closings.
Yeah.
You wanna see your clients smiling. You want to shake their hand. So definitely in person.
Yeah. Is that something that's driven by the agent versus the client?
It could go both ways. So obviously, I'll do what my clients want. If my clients prefer a digital closing, then that's what we would do. But
because I can only imagine as we keep on going down this digital path, I think the younger and younger homeowners might start leaning towards, because they think about it, they came up in the digital space.
Correct.
And right down to you have people now who are graduated after dealing with COVID, and so they were going to school via Zoom.
Correct.
And so to them, the concept of I'll just do a Zoom closing is probably not a big deal at all.
You're 100% correct, and that is true, and that's where we as agents have to constantly and consistently adjust to market trends. And if this is what your client wants, then this is what they get. And I could totally understand where, with the younger generations, that's their comfort zone. That's how they do business. And there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
If they're happy and the agent's happy.
Right. That's a good way to look at it. Cold calling versus CRM follow-ups.
Given that I really never had real good luck with cold calling, but I would still say cold calling.
Okay, fair. Last one. Oh, actually, I have a bonus, so no, this is not the last one. I changed my mind. Old school networking versus Instagram. I think I know the answer here.
Yeah, so since I don't have an Instagram account, I guess it would be just the old school networking, getting out there, meeting people, introducing yourself, talking to them, buying them a cup of coffee. I mean, it's just, like I said, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it.
Yep.
Who knows?
Yep. And honestly, I think these questions aren't necessarily the most fair the way they're positioned. Yes, is there value in social media, using Facebook and Instagram and so on?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's value.
Absolutely.
It kind of provides the air cover.
Correct.
But make no mistake, nothing beats old school in-person networking, because at the end of the day, even if you make a connection through a social media platform, you're going to need to sit down face to face, talk to the person, get to know that person. You're building rapport. And in this kind of an industry, again, you're making a purchase. Your clients are making a purchase of their house. It's one of the biggest purchase decisions they're ever going to make in their life. I think it warrants a sit down in person with somebody.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. I think it's the only, not the only way, but one of the best ways.
After this podcast, remind me, I'll set up your Instagram.
All right. Sounds like a deal.
Bonus question.
Yes.
Biggest change you didn't see coming in the industry?
God, I would say right after COVID, the way the market just kind of shot up, or kind of right around that time, I really believed it was going to start to drop back off. But it's still a strong market, and there's still a great demand out there. Didn't see that coming, but
yeah, that's a good one.
It is the reality of it. And,
it is where we are.
you know, there's definitely a big demand out there, and a lot of these prices are holding up and increasing.
Yeah. They're still increasing. They're not increasing as much as they were.
Not as much, but they're still there. You know?
Yep. But we are, I think we've finally turned the corner, and it's become a buyer's market.
Absolutely. It's definitely more of a buyer's market now than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
And but I just didn't believe it was going to last this long.
I don't think anybody did. Yeah.
I remember telling some agents, just hold off a month or two. I think you're going to find a better deal. They'd look at me and be like, "Hey, look at this." I'm like, "All right, let's move on it." You know, I mean, we're not perfect, and we can't always predict the market 100%. We'd all be
Otherwise, we'd all be millionaires.
So, that was definitely something that kind of caught me off guard.
All right, we're going to shift gears again, and we're going to pop into our rapid fire questions now.
Okay.
All right. So basically, no long story, quick answers.
All right, let's go.
Best year of your career?
I would say, oh wow, you want me to go through? I know it's supposed to be. I know you said short answers, but you're telling me to go through 30 years. I would say in the beginning, in my first couple of years, I started off unbelievably strong. Like I was leading in listings in the office, leading in closings. That was pre-2000. That was like 99, 2000. Okay, wow. But I would say around that time.
Okay. Toughest year?
Definitely during the crash. I would say somewhere around 08, 09 maybe, around that time.
I was going to guess that. Yeah. One habit that made you successful?
Consistency.
I love that
I'm always showing up.
Love that answer. I really do. I think it's the people who, again, I know this is supposed to be rapid fire, but we're not doing a good job.
Even on the rainy days, I show up.
I love that.
Even on the rainy days.
That really is the definition of, I think, success. It's if you're consistent enough, you're going to succeed.
You're going to succeed.
Yeah. One mistake you see new agents make?
Over promising their clients, under delivering.
Yeah.
Big mistake.
Yeah.
You're overselling. You're overselling yourself. Just.
Yeah. I think, again, that's something that through experience, the experienced agents know, don't overpromise and underdeliver. You're better off under-promising and over-delivering.
Correct. You get that little bit of shock factor.
Yep.
You know?
Most underrated skill in real estate?
Negotiating.
Oh, yeah.
Negotiating.
Yeah. I think it's talked about, but I don't think it's...
Most people suck at it.
Yeah.
They think they're great.
That's pretty much it.
And, just negotiating. And part of negotiating is listening.
Yeah.
And people want to do all the talking all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's,
Yeah. So that's something that I tell new agents all the time. Ask questions, be curious.
Yeah.
Go through a thorough discovery process and actually listen.
Absolutely.
One thing Empire gets right every time.
Picking its agents.
Ooh.
I mean, it's putting the great guys on the team.
Good answer. All right. Final one. Coffee or tea during the workday?
Wow. So this is actually a lengthy answer. But
Really?
I don't want to get personal here. So I would say this time in my life, it's tea.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like you transitioned.
I transitioned like a month ago.
Oh, that reason?
Right.
Why?
Right. Oh, God. I don't know. Coffee was just...
too much?
As you get older, you just...
I have to admit, now whenever I have like a taste for coffee in the evening, I actually switch and I'll just make a tea instead.
Yeah. It takes some getting used to, but eventually it's an old man's drink.
It's an old man's drink. All right. So, advice for new agents, right? If a new agent joins Empire today, what advice would you give to them?
Ask a lot of questions. There are no silly questions. Ask away. That's how you're going to learn. And another big thing is don't be afraid to mess up.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, we got your back. You know, you can't be afraid. That's how people learn. Now, we're not saying to make a huge mistake where you cost someone their deal, a deal.
Right.
Safe, but you got to put yourself out there sometimes, and you just got to take that chance.
Yeah, I think fear paralyzes too many people, and I think that's what stops them from finding success and and thriving within the space.
Absolutely.
It really is. What separates agents who last 20 years from those who burn out?
Stubbornness. Maybe being stubborn, to a certain extent.
Elaborate. Stubborn, like.
Because you're gonna have bad days.
Okay.
You're gonna have bad days.
Yeah.
And you got to get up and you got to fight the fight. You got to keep going, and the consistency again. You just hang in there, do your best, and it'll pay off. It'll pay off long term. It will pay off.
So, what does success look like to you now compared to when you first got into the industry?
So, I would say maybe the way I measured success early on was with how many closings, how much money I made, which is great. I mean, obviously you're in the business to make money. Really, the way I truly measure it now is how satisfied and how happy my clients are with my service. Yeah. And that's where, in my opinion, now at this stage in my life, that's how I measure my success is. Are people happy dealing with me? Yeah. Do they feel that I did my best for them? So,
yeah. Love that. Before I get to the closing of this episode, and you speaking of your clients, how can somebody get a hold of you if they want to reach you? Put your plug in right now.
Well, I guess they would have to call my cell phone, right? Right? Unless you're going to help me out with that.
With your Instagram account?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I would say call me at Empire Realty or call 313-443-6609.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, there it is.
Ahmad, you've represented what Empire is about: commitment, professionalism, and consistency. Final question. Why do you believe Empire continues to be home for so many agents?
I would say the main thing is if agents did not feel valued here, they would not stick around. So we're bringing something to the table that is important to the agents. We're giving them value, and they're finding success here. And without those two things, it would be impossible to hold on and bring new people on board. So they're finding success. They want to make money. You're going to make money here. Yep. And they're valuable to us, So I think those two things are extremely important.
Well, I want to thank you again for taking time out of your day, joining us here, shedding some light on the inner workings of the organization and your experiences.
Thank you.
So we appreciate you. We appreciate everything you've done, and thanks again for being here.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yep. For everybody else, thank you guys for tuning in. And of course, please don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, leave us a review. We need all that stuff. This is another episode coming to a close. We'll see you on the next one.